These are the largest stone blocks ever worked by human hands, and most of them aren't at Baalbek. Everyone knows Baalbek, the massive Roman temple complex in Lebanon, with its famous Trilithon stones, each weighing around 800 tons, fitted together so precisely that you can't slide a knife blade between them. For decades, Baalbek has been held up as the ultimate example of ancient megalithic construction. But there are stones scattered across the world that dwarf even Baalbek's most impressive blocks, and chances are you've never heard of most of them. Here's what we know. Baalbek sits in modern-day Lebanon, ancient Heliopolis, and it's been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1984. The Temple of Jupiter there was the largest Roman temple ever constructed, bigger even than the Temple of Venus in Rome, and its foundation contains 3 legendary Trilithon stones, each measuring roughly 19 to 20 meters long, over 4 meters high, and 3.6 meters thick. At 750 to 800 tons apiece, they represent some of the heaviest stones ever successfully transported and placed into a structure. When Mark Twain visited in 1867, he called Baalbek a noble ruin whose history is a sealed book. A Scottish explorer named David Urquhart was even more direct, saying he was paralyzed by the impossibility of any solution. But here's what most people miss. The Trilithon stones aren't even the biggest blocks at Baalbek. About 900 meters from the temple complex, in the quarry sits the stone of the pregnant woman. It's 21 meters long, nearly 5 meters wide, over 4 meters high, and weighs an estimated 1,000 tons. It was never moved. It still lies there, partially attached to the bedrock, abandoned. The name itself carries an interesting legend. One story says a pregnant woman once tricked the people of Baalbek into believing she knew the secret to moving the stone, but only if they fed her until she gave birth. Another legend says pregnant jinn were assigned the task of cutting and transporting it. Still others claim that any woman who touches the stone will experience increased fertility. Whatever the truth, the stone remains. Then, in the 1990s, archaeologists found another monolith in the same quarry, even larger. The stone of the south weighs an estimated 1,242 tons. And in 2014, a team from the German Archaeological Institute uncovered yet another block that had been completely buried under centuries of debris. A local had removed the covering soil, revealing what archaeologists now call the Forgotten Stone. At 19.6 meters long, 6 meters wide, and at least 5.5 meters high, it weighs approximately 1,650 tons. The lead archaeologist, Margaret Van Es, later said that excavation was suspended when the trench became dangerously deep. Hopefully in a following campaign we can dig down to the bottom of the block, she added. As of now, they still haven't. So why were these enormous stones never moved? A 2015 study found cracks and visible defects on the northwestern face of the stone of the pregnant woman. The ancient builders likely discovered flaws in the stone during quarrying and abandoned the effort. And that's a pattern we see across the ancient world. The ambition to work with stones of extraordinary size, followed by the harsh reality of imperfection in the material. Now, travel roughly 7,500 kilometers east from Baalbek to the outskirts of Nanjing, China, and you'll find the Yangshan Quarry, where things get truly staggering. In 1405, the Yongle Emperor ordered the carving of a massive stele to honor his deceased father at the Ming Xiaoling Mausoleum. 3,000 craftsmen spent 300 days carving 3 enormous stone pieces, a stele head weighing 862 tons, a stele body weighing 2,617 tons, and a stele base weighing an almost incomprehensible 16,250 metric tons. That base alone is roughly 10 times heavier than Baalbek's largest stone. Had the stele been finished and assembled, it would have stood 73 meters tall, the tallest stone structure in all of China. It was never completed. The 18th century poet Yuan Mei captured the impossibility perfectly. 100,000 camels could not move it. The project was abandoned, and in 1413, a much smaller tablet was installed instead. A nearby village became known as Fentu, meaning grave mound, in memory of the workers who died during construction, including those executed on the spot for failing to meet their daily quota of crushed rock. Egypt offers another chapter in this story. In the granite quarries of Aswan lies the unfinished obelisk, commissioned by Queen Hatshepsut sometime between 1508 and 1458 BC, a site studied since 1922. If completed, it would have stood nearly 42 meters tall and weighed about 1,090 tons, one-third larger than any obelisk ever finished. But cracks appeared in the granite during carving, and the project stopped. The tool marks are still visible. You can see exactly where the ancient workers put down their tools. Then there's the Ozymandias Colossus. Ramesses II, who reigned for 66 years during Egypt's New Kingdom, had a seated statue of himself carved from a single piece of red granite, weighing roughly 1,000 tons. And unlike the abandoned quarry stones we've been discussing, this one was actually moved. Transported 220 kilometers from the quarry to the Ramesseum, his mortuary temple, it now lies toppled and shattered across the temple floor. But the fact that it was transported at all remains one of the most impressive logistical achievements of the ancient world. Even in Jerusalem, King Herod's builders placed a single stone in the western wall measuring over 13 meters long and 3.3 meters high. Ground-penetrating radar measurements taken in 2006 revealed a depth of up to 2.5 meters, putting its estimated weight somewhere between 250 and several hundred tons. And then there's the most contested site of all. In 2013, a man named Georgy Sidorov led an expedition to Mount Shoria in southern Siberia and photographed enormous granite formations with flat surfaces, right angles, and sharp corners. Some of these blocks were estimated at 2,000 to 3,000 tons, and the wall of stacked blocks reportedly stretches 200 meters long and 40 meters high. If these were man-made, they'd represent the largest megalithic construction ever discovered. But mainstream geologists say they're not man-made at all. Russian geological surveys from the late 1990s identified these formations as granite tors, residual ridges formed by differential erosion of jointed bedrock, a well-understood natural process. The right angles and flat surfaces result from spheroidal weathering along orthogonal joint sets, the same process that produces similar-looking formations in granite landscapes worldwide. The man-made claims trace back largely to Valery Uvarov, described as Russia's foremost ufologist, and Sidorov himself, a biologist with unconventional views about prehistoric civilizations. No official archaeological excavation has ever been conducted at the site, and as of 2025, it remains a popular topic on social media with no scientific support for an artificial origin. What connects all of these sites, from Baalbek to Yangshan to Aswan, is a shared human impulse. Across civilizations that never contacted each other, separated by thousands of years and thousands of miles, people looked at stone and imagined the impossible. They attempted to move mountains, sometimes literally. And what's remarkable is not just the scale of their ambition, but how often they actually pulled it off. The Trilithon stones were placed. The Ozymandias Colossus was transported 220 kilometers. The Yangshan craftsmen carved 16,000 tons of stone from a mountainside. And we're still finding these monuments. The forgotten stone at Baalbek was only uncovered in 2014, and excavation hasn't even reached its base. The largest worked stones in human history may still be out there, buried under centuries of dirt, waiting.